Hello everyone. Okay, today today I'm going to talk about some of my spiritual experiences and my experiences with certain yoga paths. This is a continuation of a video I did a few months ago, and I never followed up on it because I got into astrology so much more, and now I'm ready to talk about it a little more. So, and the reason that is because I am currently in my Ketu maturation. And all of the planets have a maturation age. And I'm currently in my Ketu maturation. And Ketu is a very prominent planet for me because my ascendant Lord is with Ketu. And I use Ketu. Ketu is with my Makaraka in the Navamsha. And if you don't know what Ketu is, Ketu, if you're a Western astrologer, Ketu is the south node of the moon. And it's the Sanskrit name for Ketu is Ketu, but it means the flag or a flag. And you put a flag down when you've conquered territory. Ketu also means moksha or enlightenment. That's what it represents. And I want to talk about this Ketu. I'm not going to go completely. This isn't really an astrology video, so I'm not going to go into what Ketu means, all of the things he means, and everything like that. But I'm just going to point out that I'm in my Ketu maturation. Excuse me. And my experiences with that. So now, since I have Ketu conjoined Jupiter, Ketu is the first experience of God that we have. It is the wherever it is, what planets it's touching and what house it's in really has a lot to say about where we experience God. So for example, if you have Ketu in the first house, you're going to experience through your body. You're going to have bodily sensations like Kundalini awakening, which is what this video is going to be about. If you have it in the second house, that can mean that you have extreme spiritual experiences through friends. So somehow friends facilitate that, or your family facilitates that, or some type of possession, especially like jewels or rocks, or crystals, anything like that. If you have it in the third house, your siblings might have you experience it through your siblings somehow, or in through your art, because the third house is the house of artists, all kinds of artists, not performing artists as well, actors, dancers, and also painters and things like that. So yeah, that's what Ketu can mean. But also Ketu goes long. It's not only the first experience, it's pretty much the experiences all in your earlier life. Once you get older, once you pass a certain age, and I really think it's different for everyone, but you start to experience God more where the sun is. Any planets the sun is touching and the house that the sun occupies. The sun is the soul in Vedic astrology, and the sun tends to separate us from things when wherever he is, what house he's in, what planets he's conjoined. But yeah, I'm kind of getting off on astrology too much here, and I don't want to do that. I want to talk about more, my personal experience, and the reason I do this is, I've read a lot of people's experiences, especially with Kundalini, but not only that, and it was very encouraging for me. It was something that strengthened my faith in the spirituality and the mysticism. And I like to hear about people's experiences, and I think they should be talked about. Now, I was in a couple of yogic paths when I was in my 20s and into my 30s, and the Sant Mat, there was Yogananda was my first, and then I went into Sant Mat, which was very strict, and they had a living guru, and the teachings were you don't talk about your spiritual experiences, you keep them to yourself. And I think that works for some people, and that is relevant in some situations, but I don't believe in any of that stuff across the board. That applies to everyone. And also this person, this man, this guru had millions of followers, and they just, basically all they said is be a vegetarian, don't drink or do drugs, don't have sex outside of marriage, and don't and meditate 2.5 hours a day. And everybody should do that across the board, and that's all you need to do. Well, as I became more experienced with it, I noticed that that's skipping the whole psychological part. There is a big psychological part, an emotional part to becoming, to reaching the source. And the biggest battle is the psychological battle. And so, the spiritual experiences and everything, that's great, that gives you encouragement. But you really have to face all your issues. There's no getting around that. And a lot of spiritual paths want to kind of skip over that, which I find, something that's antithetical to the whole spiritual path, period, and it doesn't resonate with me at all. So I kind of left Sant Mat, but I absolutely believe that was very helpful, and that I think that some people love, meditating a lot. That's a lot of time to meditate. And I think it definitely is useful, and you can make some spiritual progress with it. In my case, I wanted something, I had to face some demons, and which is actually happening right now. So I do a conglomerate of spiritual practices. I do Qigong, and I incorporate bija mantras into my Qigong practice, which is kind of mixing Kundalini yoga with Qigong. And then I also do, when I do this, I do it at night, and I'm laying down. I don't do it sitting up. And I do it right before I go to sleep, because it's much easier for me to reach that state of consciousness that's between the waking and the sleeping, and those brain waves. And it's really extremely easy for me to feel the energy going through. Now, and then I also do a mantra meditation that was actually taught by Yogananda. And that was like the very first meditation that I had ever done. And now I'm back to it, because if I'm completely still and I do it, it's Hong Sa, or Sa Hung, So Hung. And you do it with the breath, and the breath actually slows down. The goal is to reach kumbhaka, which is you don't breathe. You stop breathing, and then you naturally, you die pretty much, or you leave your body. That's the goal. And I can feel, what I try to do is I don't move at all, and I try to do it for an hour, and I can feel the energy withdrawing from my feet and my hands, my extremities. And there's been points where the energy is completely in the top of my head, and I'm ready to shoot out of my body. But I was a little too present, too awake, I guess you could say. And that didn't happen. But now getting into the marijuana part, a lot of people will tell you don't do drugs in Kundalini, or don't do drugs, period, if you're on a spiritual path. And but I've also seen people say, yeah, the marijuana facilitates astral travel. It can awaken the Kundalini, so can entheogens. When you're metabolizing the entheogens, that definitely goes into your lower chakras, and can raise your consciousness into the higher chakras. And I have felt that, but I it's not really a Kundalini experience most of the time for me when I do entheogens. It's more of kind of a, I can see a lot of things that are my sight is opened a lot more. My third eye opens a lot more. I don't really feel energy moving in my body. I have before, but it's not the norm. And I with the marijuana now, and I live in Colorado, so it's legal. And I've noticed now whenever I partake of marijuana that all I have to do is think of certain things, and I will experience activated Kundalini. Most of the time it stays in my lower chakras, and it's hot and tingling, but it's, I just reached this state of mind where I can feel it so much more, and I can I'm so relaxed, and it doesn't overwhelm me. However, the other night it did overwhelm me. It usually stays in my lower chakras, and the other night it actually exploded all through my spine. And what happened was it exploded in my spine, but then it went out my front. And the fronts are called the kshatrams. And those are the front part of the chakras, and it would explode out through my front all the way up. And when it was in my lowest chakra, or in the lower chakras, I can't pinpoint exactly where it is. I just know the general area, and I don't know if it's in a specific chakra, but it was an incredibly emotional and psychological transformation that I went through, because I faced a lot of fear. All these fears came up, especially when it's down in the lower chakras. It was almost like I was going to die. Like these thoughts and these emotional traumas would kill me. They would actually kill me, and I was fighting for my life. And I know that the bottom chakra represents survival and all that, but and that's what it felt like. It felt like I was either going to fight this or I was going to die, and then something in me, I guess my higher self, I don't know what it was, said, just relax and let it wash over you and become one with it. So, and stop trying to fight it. So I did. I stopped trying to fight it, and I just kind of let myself die in this fear. I tried to become one with the fear, and immediately when I did that, boom, it just went straight up my spine, and all of these visions and memories, and kind of like my whole life flashed before my eyes, but much more slowly, and just things I had totally forgotten about came up, and I kind of incorporated the residue of those experiences into my body, and it was just it was kind of like it was so intense, but I was still very relaxed. Something in me kept saying, just relax, just let it come, don't fight it, just let it come over you. And I did, and the biggest, it made me realize so much, about the bodily energies, especially Kundalini. It's going to mess with you. You're going to feel victimized. You're going to feel scared and angry and fearful, and all of these different things, and sadness and regret and guilt, and then you don't want to feel these things, so you fight it, or you try to tell yourself, this is, it's fine, let it, or you try to, that's not me, you can say that's not me, but it is you, because it's happening in your body. And these energies will heal themselves if you just let them. And I think, just from my experience, is I don't try to fight this negative energy, and I don't anymore. It really made me realize this. It has to be incorporated and made a part of me, and realize that the constant striving, the yoga is not about striving. It's about letting it be and letting it happen, and it will happen naturally. Your body knows, the energy in your body knows. And everyone's Kundalini experience is different. That's for sure. Mine was facilitated through the use of marijuana, and not that I want to do that every night, and I don't look to do that every night. You know, sometimes I just take it because it helps me sleep. But yeah, it's I just wanted to share that with you. And it wasn't anything like, it didn't enlighten me. It didn't give me a oneness experience that I've had before, a completely blissful experience. It was very scary, and it was very enlightening, but it was terrifying, frankly. But you know, it made me so much more aware of what is needed. You know, it made me aware of not fighting things, and not judging things, and not looking at things in such black and white terms, or not even really that, but you know, not thinking one thing is better than the other, or negative, or hoping for better outcomes all the time, or you know, having these expectations. It kind of just, all of that flew away, you know, and it wasn't something that I consciously tried to do. So yeah, I just wanted kind of to share that with you. Oh, and another thing about this too, Ketu Jupiter. I want to throw in a little more astrology here. So I have a Ketu Jupiter combination. Ketu Jupiter people, we come from lifetimes of, you know, being good, trying to do the right thing, trying to be holy and religious, and you know, following rules, and you know, following our dharma. And you know, I had my first experiences with God, I guess you could say, or the source, was through books, with Jupiter Rules books. It was also through gurus. You know, I just had these experiences a lot, teachers, and but now it's, you know, I'm moving more out of that. I have this in my body, which is where my son is. My son's in the first house, so but anyway, getting back to Ketu Jupiter people, they really want to operate out of this paradigm of being, you know, good people, doing the right thing, being good people. But sometimes, because it's Ketu, and it's going to finish up those karmas, and you have to actually perfect that Jupiter energy in a completely different way, there's going to be times where you cannot be good, that you don't have that the spiritual law with you. You're defying spiritual law, and you are going against your teacher, your guru, your mentor, or whatever, and you're judging yourself while you're doing it, but you can't help yourself, right? You have to do it. You know, you're being bad. You know, you're being naughty. And you don't, you know, that sometimes you have to let go of those things. You have to let go of the idea of being good all the time. So that actually kind of, you know, I incorporated that in my being. So yeah, I really wanted to talk about that. You know, if you're a Jupiter Ketu person, there was about a year, was it a year? You know, people around my age have Jupiter Ketu conjunction, you know, and Jupiter stays in the sign for a year. The nodes stay in a sign for a year and a half. Especially people older than me had that Jupiter Ketu conjunction in Virgo. I have it in Libra, but, you know, they had it in Virgo. And so, you know, a lot of people that I grew up with had this, and we, you know, broke a lot of rules, you know, when we were teenagers. And then there was this incredible, you know, guilty feeling, and you just have to let go of the idea of being a good person. You know, you have to realize that all of it is part of life, and all of it is the source. It's all happening. And some people want to really be attached to being righteous, and You know, sometimes you can't do that. So that was my little deep thought for today. So I hope you enjoyed it. And that's it. Bye.